The 1990s Chicago Bulls, a dynasty that dominated the NBA for most of that decade. An era where some fans look back and say, wow, that was an amazing time for basketball. So many superstars, so many of the greatest players of all time playing in the same generation. The Chicago Bulls were on the forefront of that with household names like MJ and Scottie. Then other supporting stars like Dennis Rodman. We also know about some role players like Steve Kerr, who hit multiple clutch jump shots, including the championship-sealing shot in Game 6 of the '97 Finals. From time to time, we've heard of other guys like Tony Kukoc and Horace Grant, two other key players in their respective championship runs. But today, we're going to talk about Ron Harper, the starting point guard of the Bulls from 1995 to 1999, a crucial yet forgotten piece of their second three-peat, and a guy who sacrificed more than possibly any other player in the history of basketball. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and let's get started. But before we start, I'd like to give a big shout out to MacLeod for sponsoring this video. MacLeod is a clothing brand focusing on smart design, premium fabrics, and material, and on their website they have a very simple way to shop. I ordered a couple sets of t-shirts and shorts, and they're extremely comfortable. MacLeod has a wide variety of options to choose from regular t-shirts to hoodies to v-necks, sweatpants, underwear, undershirts, and socks, including a line of silver underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial, which naturally eliminates body odor. Their clothes are very versatile and great for everyday wear. Recently, I went hiking with a pair of their Ace sweatshorts, and it's my favorite pair right now. For a special offer, visit MacWeldon.com and use the promo code AndyHoops at checkout to get 20% off your first order. Let me give you guys some stats. Ron Harper was the 8th overall pick in 1986. From his rookie season until the 93 to 94 season, he put up averages of 19, 5, and 5, with an average usage rate of 25%. But then, from the 94 to 95 season until 1999 on the Bulls, his number dropped off significantly. Part of it was because he got older, but that's not the main reason why. Before joining the Bulls, he was on the Cavs and Clippers, where he was on average a top 20 usage rate player during that era. He was arguably a top 5 shooting guard in the league, and yes, he used to be a shooting guard, a very good one. Despite not accumulating any major accolades, like he had 0 All-NBA selections and 0 All-Star selections, he was always a borderline star, a great all-around player. As the 8th pick in 1986, he joined the Cleveland Cavaliers. He made an immediate impact, sliding in as the starting shooting guard right away, averaging 23 points a game. As a rookie, he led the team in scoring, and alongside Brad Daugherty, who was the first overall pick in the same draft, they were starting to turn this Cavs franchise around. The Cavs have never been good before they arrived, and Harper's goal was to revitalize the city and bring the Cavs their first ever championship. They were looking really good too, even winning 57 games by his 3rd season. However, although he expected to build upon that season with the rest of his teammates, that would be his last full season with the Cavs. With a logjam at the guard positions, the Cavs would trade him away in late 1989. Unfortunately, shortly after he arrived in LA, Harper suffered a terrible torn ACL, an injury that caused him to miss significant time in the following 2 seasons. He came back successfully though and still put up his usual numbers again. But the problem was that he was still in the same situation as before, and he was still part of a lower-seeded playoff team that was never a serious contender. Despite his individual success, there was something missing. That feeling of winning, and over the years, it slowly got to him. That is, until he joined the Chicago Bulls. So, what happened when he joined the Bulls? Well, first, let's set the stage for Ron Harper's situation. The year is 1994. Harper has made a great recovery from a torn ACL a couple years prior, and he's been a key player on the Clippers for the last couple years. Unfortunately, despite putting up great numbers, he never made it very far into the playoffs in any season yet. In 8 seasons so far, he made the playoffs 4 times and got eliminated in the first round every single time. In Cleveland, he even went head-to-head against Michael Jordan, although Jordan destroyed him in both series they played. Harper was a tremendous athlete and an incredibly hard worker, but loss after loss was starting to get to him. He said that you work out every offseason, you're training your butt off to prepare for a great year, and you lose. After a while, that just stinks. So now, Harper was looking for a change of scenery, and in the summer of '94, he decided to sign with the Bulls. Now, at this time, Jordan was still in his first retirement playing baseball, but he would return shortly after. For Harper, adjusting from being the star on his teams, the first or second option for so many years, to now playing as the fourth or fifth option was very hard to swallow. In recent times, well, back in 2014, we saw LeBron James return back to Cleveland, joining Kyrie and Kevin Love. Throughout the season, there were many reporters and fans bashing Kevin Love, and not putting up the all-star numbers he put up in Minnesota. Sometimes he would even get benched at the end of games. Around that time, Harper chimed in and compared his situation to Kevin Love's. Harper recalled, "I struggled sitting on the end of the bench. Phil told me, keep your head up, you'll get your chance. When we got to the playoffs and we played Penny Hardaway, a big guard, Phil said, you're going to start, I want you to guard Penny Hardaway. But I'm the 11th man on the bench. Phil said, next season I see us going with big guards, you, Scotty, and MJ. This is your chance to show me that you can play point guard." And so he played point guard. Playing next to Scotty and MJ forced Harper to adapt his game and change his entire playstyle. It's similar to what happened with Kevin Love in Cleveland. He went from being a post-up player and great passer out of the pick and roll to shooting nearly half his shots from three, because that's what the Cavs wanted him to do. Back then in Chicago, Harper went from the guy initiating the offense and calling out ISOs for himself to the guy who gave the ball to MJ and stood in the corner. However, through this time, Harper reinvented himself as an excellent defender and mid-range shooter, which he was never known for before coming to Chicago. But that's what the Bulls needed him to do, and he responded very well. For the next 3 seasons, the Bulls would win 3 more championships. Harper's role still remained the same through all that time. Since he was 6'6", he had the ability to switch onto shooting guards and small forwards. His versatility allowed the Bulls to run many different lineups without worrying about their defense. That's one of the things people don't really talk about. The Bulls were indeed very talented, but they were essentially able to interchange any players from point guard to small forward. Because MJ, Harper, and Scotty can play all 3 of those positions due to their size and length. During this time, Harper developed a very good relationship with his teammates, his coaches, and especially MJ. MJ complimented his sacrifice and how important he was in their championship runs, saying that he could have easily fallen off and gotten mad because he hadn't really been given a fair shot. But he stepped it up and said, hey, I'm going to contribute in whatever fashion. Most guys who have averaged 25 points and been the star on another team, sometimes it's hard for them to take a backseat role in another system and find a niche where they can fit in and be successful. Not Ron, I'm really happy for him. Coach Phil Jackson also praised him, saying how the transformation of Harper's game was what the Bulls really needed to win. He said, Harp realized that when Michael came back, he had to take a back seat from the offensive end. Although he had a rather disastrous offensive year that first year for us, he realized that if he was going to play and contribute to our team, he was going to have to do some other things. And he knew that defense was one of those areas he could do it in. He understood what he had to do, and he has done a good job at it. Harper responded by saying that, when I came into this league, I realized that when you play on bad teams and lose games and then go to a team that has a very fine chance to win a title, that's much better. So I changed teams and I changed roles. Some guys in the league, they can't change their roles at all. It's just because they're hard-headed. I'm not that kind of guy. I think I know what's best for this team. A few years go by, and by 1999, with MJ retiring and Scotty leaving, Harper would go his own way as well. In the summer, he would sign with the Los Angeles Lakers, reuniting with Phil Jackson. Harper would once again take on the duties of starting point guard, playing a similar role like in Chicago, but this time alongside a young Shaq and Kobe. For the next 2 seasons, he would be the Lakers starting point guard as they won multiple championships. Harper became the veteran leader on this team, which they really needed, especially when it came to controlling the egos in the locker room. Phil Jackson looked to him for support as Harper was a secondary coach on the floor. He was with them for their 2000 and 2001 championships, and by the end of 2001, he slowly moved away from the game. And eventually, the starting point guard role would be given to Derek Fisher. By the end of that season, Harper retired at the age of 37. He finished his NBA career with 5 championships. And that sums up the career of Ron Harper, probably the most forgotten player on those Chicago Bulls teams. He was a borderline star before joining the team, but sacrificed his touches for the better of the team. Nobody really talks about him anymore, but he was crucial to the Bulls' defensive game plan, allowing MJ and Scottie to get a breather on that end. When we talk about big point guards, he was one of the first ones, one of the first good ones. The advantage of being 6'6" allowed the Bulls to have so much versatility, especially when matched up against other point guards of that era. Anyway, that's all folks. Let me know your thoughts on Ron Harper. And if you know any other players who went through similar circumstances, giving up the role of being a star to be a simple rotation player. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.